Hello, and welcome to Look Behind You podcast. I am Sir Boom, your host, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Wolf.
Hello.
And Ramen Cat.
Hello.
And in this podcast, of course, we talk about the supernatural, the paranormal, and everything in between.
And a little bit of weird stuff.
Isn't that paranormal and supernatural?
That's just life.
Is that just life?
That's just life.
Yep.
So what would be the weird stuff then?
You don't want to know.
The fact we're recording in broad daylight, and usually we record in the dark of night.
Oh. Well, that's just our schedule.
That was the schedule.
Yeah, when you're doing a part-time job that doesn't pay the bills, I mean, you have to do it when you can, so.
Yeah. Just there's a white building staring me down from across the road.
Oh yeah, you usually can't see my neighbors, I guess.
Yeah. It's weird. There's people walking around. SOS, someone send help.
Help! What, are you creeped out about the people walking around looking at the windows?
Yes.
Ah, I see.
Especially when they just grab onto the window and look right in your house.
Nobody has done that. And
That
if
you
they
know
did,
of.
I would be very mad.
He'd be terrified.
Well, anyways, with this podcast episode, we are going to be talking about my personal favorite monster.
Which is?
The werewolf.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how it's not I guess completely how it's depicted today. I don't like vampires. It seems a lot darker in the original depictions.
It does seem a lot darker in the old literature than the new literature. I think Twilight ruined it.
Twilight did kind of like okay. So in modern, Underworld made them look cool.
Yep.
And then Twilight just ruined them.
Well, I mean, I guess I can't blame it all on Twilight, because there is Teen Wolf.
I will blame it all on Twilight.
Really?
Yes.
You really just don't like that movie
I
series.
despise Twilight.
Well, Teen Wolf was supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah.
Twilight was just Twilight.
Edgy romance vampires.
Yeah, that's true. Shirtless werewolves.
Shirtless werewolves.
Which, I mean, in the old literature, there's lots of shirtless werewolves.
There's a lot of naked werewolves.
There's a lot of naked werewolves.
So, what are we looking at for the topic today, then?
What are we looking at?
Yes, enlighten us.
Werewolves.
Werewolves, of course.
No. I mean, like, give us an overview.
Oh, like, what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're going to be talking about...
Let the folks know. What is a werewolf?
Oh, what is a werewolf?
Yes.
Oh.
I can't talk right now or conduct coherent sentences.
That was confusing.
That was confusing. I was
I'm
do you want me to tell them, like, all the articles we're reading off of? Or?
No. Dear Lord, no. I'd be here all day.
Yeah. So, basically, I think everybody knows what a werewolf is. If you asked an average 10-year-old on the street, they'd be able to tell you what a werewolf is, right?
I don't know. I don't think I have been talking to 10-year-olds on the street. That's weird.
I mean, most of the time you would get arrested for that.
Right. I just don't like 10-year-olds anyways.
Oh.
Most little kids are kind of jerks nowadays.
Okay. I guess that could be true. I don't know what kids you're talking to, though.
I have yet to meet a kid that doesn't try to be edgy anymore.
Well, edgy's not necessarily bad.
They all are jerks.
Edgy's just edgy.
Very rarely do I meet a nice kid anymore.
Oh, okay. I think you're just having bad experiences with children.
I think it is. I think it's just where I live.
Probably. That would actually make sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, for the people that might not know, a werewolf is a creature that is noted for violent tendencies and aggressive animalistic behavior. It is most known for a human being turned into a wolf or a wolf-like monster, either by a curse or in some tales, some of the older tales, by wearing special clothing or even just animal pelts.
Sounds about right.
What a lot of people don't know is werewolves a lot of times are either split into two groups where you have werewolves that are malicious, they have human thoughts, they have human capacity of thinking. So those are more noted for, like, if you watch the movie Dog Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That one, they have more animalistic, like, they have more human thoughts. So, like, they're able to do
What they want.
what they want.
Yeah.
And then you have I can't think of a movie necessarily that has more
like
animalistic ones.
American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Iconic piece of horror movie.
Yeah,
but
that one where he's more overcome by a curse and is more just animalistic.
Yeah.
Right? And that's more the classic literature of a werewolf.
Yeah.
Where once you turn into the werewolf or turn into a wolf, because that's what most old culture is, so you turn more into just a wolf creature. Then you're just more animalistic. You just eat anything that's in sight. If you're hungry, you eat. If you're not, you're just like going and killing for malicious fun.
Yeah.
Right.
You just turn into a wolf.
Another
that's what
one,
it
like
is.
just going through research of it too, a werewolf doesn't also necessarily, I guess, have to be someone that turns into one, because there's a case where it was just the people were like, it's a werewolf. It's also a giant wolf, so...
Yeah, I mean, some of those cases...
I guess if it's more of just a monstrous wolf.
It could be, I think... I don't know, because it's weird. I feel like the classic determination of a wolf comes from the Greek, which is lycanthropy.
Yeah.
Lycanthropy.
Lycanthropy?
Yeah, that word.
Lycanthropy.
Lycanthropy or lycanthropy. I've heard it called it both ways. So.
Which basically just means man-wolf.
Yep.
And then, of course, we turned it into werewolf. Which...
Gaelic words.
Yeah, I'm not...
Gaelic.
Were usually
means man.
Does it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's the pairing of werewolf. You could literally just pair it with anything and it would mean that.
Well, I know it from the stupid English language where usually means like a location or something like that.
No, it's old language.
Well, I wasn't born in the 1800s, so...
Further back.
Sure, okay.
Let's go like 1300s.
But in most fiction, it is known as a shapeshifter. A man, a woman turns into a beast or something in between that. Like, you have, of course, I'm going to say Dog Soldiers again, which is more like an actual like monster.
Yep.
And then you have
the old classics like Wolfman.
I mean, you even have like Twilight where they turn into wolves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Twilight kind of got it right in a way if you think about it.
They did do that right in the fact of the characters just turn into big wolves.
Yeah, they just turn into big like dire wolves basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they had to be shirtless all the time. But...
No, they didn't have to be shirtless all the time, and I don't know. I feel like the movie could have been better if they just took the main character out. Like just werewolves and vampires fight. Just make it Underworld all over again. Small town Underworld.
Just watch Underworld then. It's I don't know. All right, but yeah, so that is basically the basics of a werewolf.
Yeah.
What pop culture has turned werewolves into is much more of a...
It's more romanticized in the fact of, like, it's fit a cliche, and that's what they've stuck to.
Yeah. Well, and it's also kind of... They kind of turned into more of, like, a view on the darker nature of humans.
Yeah.
Where, like, we always have that violent side to us, that darker, more animalistic side. And a lot of werewolf movies nowadays kind of portray that fine line between a human and just what a human is willing to do when they lose their humanity.
Right, where old depictions was just, you can eat people now.
Yeah. And I am cursed.
Yeah.
Basically.
You go kill sheep.
Yeah.
You go kill sheep, eat a few people here and there.
So, of course, really good notes for modern day literature for werewolves would be, well, Werewolf in London. You have what other ones? The Wolfman. You have an old 19th century book, The Werewolf by Clements Houseman.
Yep.
Okay.
Stephen King wrote a story called Silver Bullet.
Yep, you have that one. You have, of course, you have the movies. You have Dracula, the one with not Dracula.
I mean,
Van
Dracula
Helsing?
did.
I was thinking Van Helsing.
The
Dracula
one where he
did.
turns into a werewolf to kill Dracula.
Yeah. the one-
Dracula
yeah.
did have the Bram Stoker, or like Bram
was-
Stoker's the author. But there's kind of depictions of that because the fact of like vampires can also turn into wolves.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Helsing movie the one with Hugh Jackman?
Yes.
That somehow is hated now and was beloved back in its time.
I mean, it's cheesy, but it's really good.
It is
I
really
like
good.
it. Then you also have newer ones, which is you have Dog Soldiers, you have Underworld, you have Twilight, you have
Well, video game.
Teen Wolf, you have The Howling,
Yep.
you have
I mean, it's starting to leak into video games a little bit more, like with the Wolf Among Us.
Yep, Wolf Among Us.
Skyrim has.
Wolf Among
Elder
Us
Scrolls.
is really different.
Is it?
Wolf Among Us is because I started playing that. It's all the fairy tales
Mm-hmm.
come to modern day.
Yeah.
And there's this
Oh,
whole
okay.
sector in New York where they just live together. The Wolf Among Us, the wolf is the big bad wolf from Little Red Riding Hood,
Oh,
and he's
okay.
a detective / peacekeeper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's cool. I might have to play that.
it's actually a really good game. I liked it.
But, you know, you have them like in Skyrim, games like that.
Yep, you have Skyrim. You
Actually,
have
they just-
in the newest Resident Evil.
Oh yeah.
what is it
Village.
called? Village. Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
That one they have werewolves.
Those are the
and
more permanent werewolves.
There's
Yep.
a game that it's either getting ready to come out or did come out. It's called Werewolf the Apocalypse. Well, it's a tabletop RPG game.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yep, that one.
It looks really good.
I haven't seen much for it.
I've seen
so-
a few trailers for it. It
Yep.
looks
Yeah.
really good.
It does.
And then yeah, so that's basically pop culture.
Fiction.
I'll keep on want to say pulp fiction.
Pulp fiction.
But yeah, it's pop culture. And then you even have like Ventures into the Darkness, which is the old comic book series.
Yep.
Which
Actually, I
talks
think in the old Marvel comics there was just
Yeah, there's
the
a Wolfman.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so that's pop culture. That's basically where it comes into, and basically all of those revolve around the werewolf that when a full moon hits turns into a werewolf.
Half
and
werewolf, half man, half werewolf.
Half the time nowadays, they're not even bad people.
No.
They're not like killers or anything like that. Where in old culture, they're basically all serial killers. In new culture, it's like, yeah, they're beasts, but yet it seems like they're always on the good guy's side.
Yeah, more so now. They never used to be.
Yeah,
It's the whole play on I have the curse, now how do I deal with it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's like the Incredible Hulk,
Yeah.
Kind of, in a way.
yeah.
Yep.
and where the Incredible Hulk is more based on the Jekyll and Hyde type story.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But I mean, if you think about Jekyll and Hyde, is still kind of on that same cusp.
yeah,
Like,
very
he's
much.
not a werewolf, but it follows that same thing of like you have a normal person or something, and then all of a sudden just blood rage, psychotic tendencies.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fun part, the part that we all more appreciate, is the old literature of werewolves.
Yes, because these guys are messed up.
Old legends.
So, Ramen Cat, what are some good old stories of werewolves?
Well, we got one here called the Livonian werewolf. Again, just ahead of time, just like usual, I will probably butcher all pronunciations.
Livonia?
of Livonia, yes. I apologize to anyone.
Bologna?
Bologna.
I don't know. That's just what I thought when you said Livonia.
It's just nothing but.
I
just,
think
it's just
Latinovonia or whatever.
just nothing but
Crazy.
wiener dogs there.
Wiener dogs, okay. I was thinking just a sea of bologna, but okay.
So the werewolf of Livonia was a. One of the things to note is in way back during all these things like 17th century, 16th century, and stuff. people had like confessions and stuff of being werewolves, kind of like the witch trials and stuff.
Yeah.
It actually fell hand in hand with those. So it's like
did.
a lot of times if you were accused of being a witch, you'd also be accused of being a werewolf, or vice versa, or having dealings with like the devil or something.
Also, people would use it kind of as like, I plead insanity.
Yeah, and it's like if this is the one that I'm thinking of, it's kind of that, because the guy's story is so all over the place.
Right.
Is Confession of Theus of Kattenberg. He lived in Swedish Livonia in 17th century, and Theus was widely believed among his neighbors to be a werewolf, because they believed he had dealings with the devil. Dun,
Yep.
Dun, dun. We know the culprit.
Burn the
devil.
witch. I mean, the werewolf. I'm not even sure anymore. Just burn the person.
Burn the thing. It's just, I feel like back then they were just like, we don't know what it is, just yeet a torch at it. Local authorities didn't really care much because Theus was in his 80s. Somehow, I don't know how age back then got you out of being accused of stuff. Because it seemed like people were usually just quick to jump.
Back then, you didn't really live a really long time.
Yeah, so 80s was kind of weird.
Also, law back then was different. It was kind of weird. They didn't care so much about what you did, but more like what you could still do.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, a lot of times, they used what the witches did back before, like they accused the witches before, just to accuse them, to put them in the murder, so that way they couldn't do more.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, they didn't really care if supposedly the witch or the werewolf, ate a child. They just used that. It's like, oh, they ate a child, burn it!
Yeah, yep.
So that way I can't eat my child, type of thing. So it's like, okay, you don't really care what happened, as long as it just doesn't happen again.
Yeah, yep. Preventative measures, basically. Local authorities didn't care much, since Theus was in his 80s and thought, what harm could he do with just a few tales? So actually, they were looking at it more, I think, as, he's just a tall tale teller.
Yeah, it could be
an
too.
Old man.
But they brought him in for questioning on an unrelated matter in 1691, where he voluntarily began divulging details of his werewolf lifestyle, although there were many inconsistencies with the account. According to his account, Theus had given up lycanthropy 10 years prior, so I guess he was just going on the thing of just having the ability to?
If I remember this story right, he was given the magical pelt.
It's either a pelt or a belt. I know one story has a pelt, one has a belt.
It was a belt made out of a pelt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when he gave it up, he literally just gave it up.
Just toss the belt in the corner. Yeah. Some little kid runs along, grabs it, turns into a bloodthirsty beast, goes on a killing spree.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
Where's little Timmy? Oh, rampaging across the Swedish countryside. But anyways, Theus had given up lycanthropy 10 years prior to his appearance before the judges in 1691. Before that, he and other werewolves would change into wolves on St. Lucia's Day.
Pentecost, Midsummer Night, by donning magical werewolf pelts. There it is.
There it is. All I had to do is look a little further.
Yeah, read.
I don't know how. Although he later changed his story and said they would just strip naked and turn into wolves.
Oh, okay, that's maybe what you were thinking.
Yeah, that might be what I was thinking. So I was like, sir, could you recount that thing? We got naked.
That's not what you said before, but okay.
Yeah, we got naked and ate people.
They would then maraud the countryside, killing farm animals and cooking and eating them. When asked how wolves cooked meat, he declared they were still human, not wolves.
We weren't wolves.
Sir, your confessions are starting to sound like you just went around killing people.
While naked. His story only grew even stranger as he claimed that werewolves were the agents of God, and he would travel to hell to battle the devil and his witches, bringing back grain and livestock the witches had stolen. In fact, he said he had done so just 1 year earlier, contradicting his claim of having renounced lycanthropy 10 years prior.
It sounds like he might have been smoking something.
It kind of does. Also, I couldn't find it in here, but there is an old legend, and it got written into several books before. It was a story called The Wolves of St. Augustine,
Oh yeah, yep.
where it was just like a parish was just pretty much werewolves who their sole purpose was to counteract the works of the devil.
Mm-hmm. I remember that story.
I didn't know about it until like reading a webcomic a long time ago, and then it's like I looked into it more. I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the final of this. When it was revealed that Theus was not a devout Lutheran, he practiced a form of local folk magic involving charms and blessings. The judge orders Theus to be flogged and exiled. After that, no one really knows what happened to him.
So it sounded like he was almost off the charges until he said he used magic.
Yeah, pretty much. They just thought, I was like, "Sir, you're crazy. Go home."
Sir, oh wait, you used magic to the burning pit.
No, I mean, that was actually honestly kind of a light charge back then, to just kind of be beat up and then just like get out of here.
Yeah, but he was like 86 years old.
He was 86 years old. I mean, I'm not saying it was good either way what they did.
Yeah.
But compared to what they did to a lot of other people, like there was a story of a man that was supposedly a werewolf, and they like put him on this thing called a breaking wheel. So it's like literally you are spun or like have your limbs ripped apart.
Yep.
So
I believe he was also put on the rack,
yeah,
which just sounds bad.
yeah.
One more story of a werewolf comes from the werewolf of Bedburg. One of the most famous werewolf cases is Peter Stump, a wealthy farmer accused of being a serial murderer, cannibal, and werewolf in Rhineland in 1586. So even before the old man was telling his tall tales.
So just putting it out there, cannibalistic serial killer werewolf sounds like some kind of weird death metal album cover.
Yeah, it
I can
does.
picture that. It just like they're all wearing like wolf skins or something. They're all
Yeah.
shirtless wearing wolf skins.
It was like black light or
Yeah.
something. Just when you said this, like, wait a minute.
Sounds like acid, like
Acid
death
rock
metal or something. All right. In the years preceding Stump's arrest, the country town of Bedburg had been plagued with horrors. It started with dead and mutilated cattle, but bodies of townfolk were also soon found in the fields.
You know what else starts with dead mutilated cattle? Aliens.
No, well, yeah, that's true. And skinwalkers.
And skinwalkers.
Initially, it was thought that it was a werewolf. Or not a werewolf. A wolf or wolves attacking the creatures. But the creatures evaded capture. Finally, in 1589, a hunting party managed to corner the wolf with its hounds. So basically, they treat a wolf, which is weird.
Or just cornered it, probably at Elk Clove.
Oh, that would make
I
sense.
mean, where was Bedburg?
Bedburg was in what is known as Germany nowadays.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's some rugged
In the
land.
Rhineland.
Rhineland.
Yeah, Germany's got some rough land in places.
I think this is Germany, right? I'm not very good at my
I'll
geography. So yeah, somebody look that up. I thought it was Germany, and now I'm second guessing myself. So, but anyways, it was cornered by a hunting party, and the party managed to corner the wolf with hounds. When the human approached, they saw, according to report, not a wolf at all. Instead, the hound had cornered Stump. Which, I'm sorry, if you're a wealthy farmer named Stump with 2 P's at that. So it's Stump. Just like...
Heavy on the stump.
Just Stump. Just like, who names their child Stump?
Also, like, could you imagine that you're expecting, like, this intimidating name and, like, it's Stump!
Yeah.
Western Germany.
Alright,
Western
I was
Germany.
right.
Okay, cool.
So, the most damning piece of evidence was that Stump's left hand had been lopped off. The wolf had its left paw cut off. Since the wolf and man had the same injury, wolf and man must be one in the same. That sounds like an old farmer saying it.
Actually, I
The
believe
wolf had no paw, Stump has no hand. They're the same thing.
wolf no paw, stump no hand, stump wolf.
Match that paw to that man.
And then Stump ended up confessing. But it's questionable confession at best. He had been subjected to torture, including the rack, which is what you explained before.
Yeah.
He said that it had been packed with the devil when he was 12. It had been given a magical belt, which allowed him to turn into a wolf. He confessed to killing 14 children and 2 pregnant women. He ate off their... I don't know if I should read all this. He ate off their flesh and killed them. He also killed his own son, and he had some Alabama stuff with some of his own children.
Inappropriate relationship with his own daughter.
Yeah. He was sentenced to die, which I think he really needed to.
I love how that is just worded. He was sentenced to die.
Well, it's fully sentenced as he was sentenced to die in the most awful manner. He was fixed into a breaking wheel, and yeah, they basically tore him to pieces, poked him with stuff, beheaded him, and then eventually, they also killed his daughter. Dang. They were thorough.
Yeah,
and mistress.
Very thorough.
Yeah. Okay, wow. And then, yeah, after that, Stump...
They don't actually know if it was Stump either.
They don't. He just confessed to it.
So they're like, kill them all.
I think it does say that the attack stopped after that, so...
Well, they also killed a wolf. If I remember right.
No, when they fought the wolf before, when they tried capturing the wolf, they lobbed off the paw.
And just to finalize that, it's not known whether the crimes were truly committed by Stump, because at the time the region was deeply affected by the Colgany War, and Stump was a Protestant convert, and the region had been seized by the Catholics in 1857. So his death was to the Catholics' advantage, as his considerable wealth would fall to them. In addition, Stump's death could have served as a strong warning to Protestants.
That makes sense.
So, I mean, I feel like he would have still been executed for the other stuff that he had.
Killing his son and...
Yeah.
Doing inappropriate things.
With his daughter, just like, dang, that's
Messed up.
gotta be on a werewolf at this point. That's just a serial killer. That's like what you hear of like the cult leaders nowadays.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, geesh.
Another one we have is the Wolf of Ansbach.
Ansbach.
Yeah, this one's also weird.
They're all weird. Werewolves were just weird back then. Our werewolves, honestly, I feel like are kind of boring to the old werewolves.
They kind of are, because they're all the same.
Kind of like the vampire thing, and then you read old accounts of like a whole village coming back.
Yeah.
And they're like, kill them all. In 1685, a wolf was terrorizing and killing humans in the town of Nisus. Did I read this one already?
No.
Oh, no, I read this one to you guys before we started recording.
Yes.
All right, in the town of Nisus, in the Principality of Ansbach, in what is now Germany. Seems to be a lot of Germany this happens in.
Well, it was mainly
Germany's
European
pretty big.
and northern areas. So
Germany's pretty big for where it is.
especially back then.
Yeah, yep. This was not unusual for wolf attacks to happen, but the town's chief magistrate, it's either Michael or Michel Licht, had just died. He was a cruel and unpopular man, and it was said that the wolf visited Licht's residence. So it was only a small leap for people who claim the wolf was Licht. And that logic, though, I feel like you could argue the same when a wolf keeps returning to a farmer's house to kill his livestock.
Yeah.
That wolf went to their house, yeah, but it killed their... But that wolf went to their house. That guy's obviously a werewolf.
He wasn't a farmer. He was a magistrate,
right. Too. But they believe that Leech had returned as a werewolf for his sins. The wolf's death was not a terrible event, but it gets a little messed up with what the people do to the wolf.
Yeah.
It's just that thing where they do a thing called a trigger warning that you should be aware of anyways, since we talk about morbid stuff anyways.
Yeah, I should have read that before the other story.
Sorry.
Yeah, just history's messed up. We can't change it, sorry. The wolf's death was not a terrible event. The people organized a house and chased the wolf into a well and killed it. That must have been some amazing tactics there. Route it into the well!
Then throw spears down the well.
What they did with its body, though, was the macabre part. They paraded it through the streets, then prepared it for a display. They cut off its muzzle, dressed it in human clothes, placed a wig on its head, and made a mask and put on it that resembled leech. They then hung the body from a gibbet so that everyone might see it and I guess enjoy it, because apparently people like
stupid motorcycles.
If you hear that, I apologize for my neighbors.
Yeah, so they hung the wolf from a gibbet and then afterwards preserved the body.
Not only that, but they were so convinced that Leech did it that they dressed the wolf up as the guy.
They must have hated him.
They really did not like him.
No.
They killed him twice. They wanted to kill him twice. Well, I don't think they killed him the first time. Well, they might have.
They might have. It doesn't say how he died.
He came back for more, boys. Get him.
Jeez.
Knock him down the well, Jimmy.
People back then were brutal.
Well,
if they didn't like something or if they were scared of something, they would murder it in the most vicious fashion.
To be fair, though, if you think about it, back in those times, the common folk were very subjugated.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I get that, but it's just like...
No, I mean...
Calm down for a second. You don't have to murder every little thing that moves.
But they do.
You look at werewolves, you look at skinwalkers, you look at aliens. You look at the Jersey Devil, somebody shot a cannon at it.
Like I said with the Bigfoot thing. They didn't have to just be like, oh, something weird. Boom, boom.
Even back in the 1800s in America, it's just like they see Bigfoot, they shoot at it.
Yeah. Except for the guy that was unimpressed with Bigfoot.
That is true.
He didn't shoot at Bigfoot. Well, he shot as like a warning shot.
Yeah.
But just the whole time, he's just grumpy face. Just, I want to go home.
Can you let me go, please?
Yeah, people were brutal back then. But to be fair, these things also sounded like they were pretty brutal towards the people, too.
Well, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Back then...
Also, it was just a whole group of people riling up each other.
Right. If you take the stories at face value, and you don't go into the account of that, back then, 90% of the people would just die of animal attacks.
Yeah.
Or not 90%
or just
of people.
Disease
or disease.
Something.
Or just breaking their leg and not knowing how to fix it properly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, people just died because they got a paper cut.
much.
Because they didn't know what sticking your hand in the stream would do to it.
Well, also, it's weird because back then, unless your career was either in like missionary work or a merchant or something, you didn't really go beyond your village.
No. You also really didn't even go beyond your farmstead.
Yeah.
When you went into the village, it was for like direct special supplies.
Yeah.
Or addressing like a local government. Because it was like everything was pretty self-sustainable.
Yeah. So when you had something scary come onto your farmstead, you would get everybody you knew to go and kill it.
I only know 2 people because I've never traveled beyond 2 miles of my house.
Yeah.
But those 2 people know 2 people, and those 2 people know 2 more people.
But yeah, those are some of the most like earliest accounts. There is the original account of
Greeks.
The original ancient Greek account of werewolves. And this is what supposedly was the very first recording of a werewolf story.
The birth.
Yep. And basically it is the Epic of Gilgamesh. And I'm going to summarize it because it's a pretty long story. But basically what it is one day a king saw a girl. He wanted to marry the girl, right?
Wasn't this King Lycan?
Yeah, this is King Lycan. Maybe I should read directly more from the story. I tried summarizing it in my head, and it's not
The
working.
Epic of Gilgamesh is actually pretty cool. Like,
It is really
he,
cool.
like, travels around and meets, like, scorpion people that guard the gates of hell.
Yeah.
Scorpion people. Come on, you see that in anything else nowadays? Not even pop culture.
Clash of the Titans.
There's no scorpion people. There's giant scorpions.
Is that? Oh, that's true.
I think the only
That's true.
scorpion person I've ever seen is a boss in Dark Souls 2.
There's actually 2 scorpion people in Dark Souls 2.
And one sleeping.
No, you just have to get a ring to talk to him.
Yeah.
Oh.
But no, you just kill it.
No, I
Because you're like the peasants of the 1600s.
It's weird. Kill it.
He gives you stuff.
I never
So-
killed the scorpion, dude.
I did.
Long time ago, there was a king named Lycan. He was walking through the forest one day and he saw a beautiful young lady singing by the lake.
There's your first warning flag.
Yep.
Never trust a lady singing by a lake in the middle of a forest.
He was so struck by her beauty and her singing that he wanted to marry her. And eventually, to do that, he had to ask permission of her parents.
Okay.
Which her parents turned out to be, well, if you're going off the Roman or if you're going off the Greek, some people would say in like the Roman, her father was Jupiter, king of the gods, or Zeus. King of the gods.
Okay.
And basically, Lycan had to prepare a feast to meet the
Parents.
king, the parents.
So just that nervous date night, your first
Yeah.
time there, I'm gonna meet the folks.
So he makes the feast and he does all of that, but instead, what he tries doing is he tries tricking Zeus into basically making a fool of himself by preparing a meal for Zeus or Jupiter of human flesh.
For 7 days, he had to make meals.
Why?
Because basically just to make a fool of him.
Why?
I don't necessarily know.
Like, what the heck?
Maybe it's because he was intimidated by like the woman he wanted to marry being a daughter of like the king of gods.
But that would be like polar opposite right there. Like, I need to prepare the best of everything I have.
You would think.
You know what? Here, just take the kingdom.
And basically what happened is
Oh, okay. I know why he got mad.
why is that?
Because he had to do 7 meals for 7 days, and Zeus just kind of ignored him through it all, and he had a very short temper.
That makes sense.
See,
Good find.
Like, I would think if you don't get along with your in-laws, you'd be like, great, he's ignoring me and not complaining at me.
Well, that's the difference between culture, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Zeus ended up seeing through his schemes and cursed him to become a wolf. At that time, he still wanted to marry Zeus's daughter. So what happened is Zeus's wife came down and offered a deal as long as Lycan could handle his anger, basically because he was short-tempered, he would be human. But as soon as he let go of his anger, got mad, he would turn into a wolf again. And basically what ended up happening is the daughter of Zeus ended up seeing him in wolf form and ran away. So, yeah. That is a very, very abrupt reading of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Zeus turned a dude into a werewolf because he gave him human steak.
Yeah. And all for the girl, and he didn't even get the girl at the end.
Nope.
That's where we get lycanthropy from, I believe.
Right.
I have also heard, it just kind of passed over it in some of the old legends. There was apparently a sect in Greece or Rome or somewhere that worshipped Zeus, but they had him as a depiction of a wolf. And I don't remember the person, but they were preparing a sacrifice and it was a person. Like, they practiced human sacrifice. And when you did that back then, you did your sacrifice.
Yep.
Move on to the next thing. Well, this guy got the bright idea. I'm going to taste the innards of this person, and he turned into a wolf for it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's interesting. There is the... I couldn't find it on the internet for some reason. But there is the old Nordic tale
Yeah, I just thought of that Fenrir.
of... What is it named?
Fenrir?
Fenrir? Of a father and son.
Okay, I don't think
The-
this is it.
Son, or the father, was cast out from the kingdom. I forget exactly if he was the king or if he was just like part of the royalty, but he was cast out with his son. So for many years he was trying to train his son to take revenge on the now ruling king, right?
Mhm.
Take revenge on his family, take up revenge on his, the king himself. But the son was very weak. He was not really built to be a warrior, right? So one day they're hunting through the forest and they come across this cabin. Well, in the cabin, there's two men sleeping on the ground, and above them are two huge wolf pelts, right?
Mhm.
And in the story, it says that the father and the son felt great urge to just to wear the wolf pelts. Like something about it told them that they needed to put them on. So they did, and what ended up happening is they turned into basically werewolves. They turned into large wolf things. And after that, with the strength that they had, the animal instinct started taking over. They started running through the countryside, killing the king's guards and the king's soldiers, and killing just livestock in general. They were unstoppable. Nobody could take them on, anything like that. So eventually, they got the bright idea, and they felt like they were strong enough to go to the castle itself and take the castle on. So they made a deal that if either of them would basically be surrounded or be fighting too many people at the same time, that they would call the other person to help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what ended up happening is the child got too blood hungry, too bloodlustful, and just started going on beyond his means, and he ended up getting hurt beyond what was possible for him to heal from, because a werewolf can heal really fast.
I just read that it was the rampage ended when the dad attacked the son.
Yes. Oh yeah, that is right. So the son was kind of going into like a bloodlust, and then the father attacked the son, pretty much like ripped out his throat. He was dying on the ground, and a Norse
raven.
god, a raven,
Appeared and gave him a leaf that could heal
right?
him.
Yep, which turned out to be Zeus himself, or not
You mean
Zeus,
Odin?
Odin, because they're all the same. Basically, Odin.
Odin's a little better than Zeus, just saying.
He is. Odin came and said that he would be willing to heal the son, and he did. And then basically they discarded the wolf pelts and went off into the woods to live happy lives.
Yep.
Because nothing says happy ending like massacre, I
The
guess.
saga of the
he
Volsungs.
did end up killing, I think, the queen.
I don't know. I just found
The
a small
father-
excerpt from
Yeah.
history. I totally forgot about Norse mythology because technically the son of Loki, Fenrir, is also a werewolf.
Well,
More the
Fen-
peer
Fen
of
is
just being
a giant wolf. isn't
half
he?
human, half wolf
Yeah.
monster, not one
Okay.
that transforms back and forth.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that when I was doing research, because that is technically part of the werewolf legends.
So cool. But yeah, that is the original stories of werewolves. So that's like the Norse, like that's like the first sighting of werewolves
In
in
Greece?
in Norse mythology.
Okay.
And then there's the tale of Zeus, which is kind of more Greek and Roman, because Rome, of course, stole it and used Jupiter and
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
their own
they
gods.
favored
Yeah.
that religious preference, I guess.
Planets.
And with that, I just realized we've been going for 45 minutes.
44.
So we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back for our last short half, and we'll do our own personal discussion on werewolves.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, we'll be right back, everybody.
Snack time.
And we're back.
Yay, but no snacks.
No snacks.
So sad.
I opened up the fridge and there was 2 potatoes.
Oh.
Yep.
You mean the tax collector hasn't come to collect the potatoes yet?
Not yet. All right. Well, we basically went over most of the literature of werewolves and like pop culture werewolves. And now we're going to go into the real side of werewolves.
I don't know. It was a pretty real side of people just going and eating people.
Well, yes, but I mean, this kind of explains maybe why.
Why? Yeah.
So, Ramen Cat or Wolf, whoever wants to explain this, go ahead. I've been talking for a while.
Yeah, you have. It's been enjoying listening to you.
I know. Wolf's been awful quiet. Wolf, you wanna?
I've been trying not to talk because of my allergies, and I'm gonna sound horrible.
Okay. Well, I'll do it. So, a possible explanation would be there is a psychiatric syndrome known as clinical lycanthropy.
Yes.
It kind of bugs me on one hand that they just call it clinical rather than just basically be like, hey, this could be what it is.
Yeah.
Or it also has the name, I'm gonna butcher this, Zoonothopia? Zonthopia?
Huh?
Oh,
This is from the wiki.
zonothropy.
Yeah.
Zonothropy.
Yes. And just
That sounds like a tiny frog.
on it's a zonothropy. Don't touch it. It's poisonous.
Yeah, sure. That sounds about right.
But yeah, clinical lycanthropy is summed up as a rare psychiatric syndrome that involves a delusion that the affected person can transform into, or has transformed into, or is an animal. Its name is associated with the mythical condition of lycanthropy, a supernatural affliction in which humans said physically shapeshift into wolves. And as like said before, is purported to be a rare disorder.
But it happens.
Have you ever met a werewolf?
No.
I haven't.
Signs and symptoms of it are, as Wiki states, affected individuals believe that they are in the process of transforming into an animal or have already transformed into an animal. It has been associated with altered states of mind that accompany psychosis, a mental state that typically involves delusions and hallucinations, and with the transformations only seeming to happen in the mind and behavior of affected person. A study on lycanthropy from McLean Hospital reported on a series of cases and proposed some diagnostic criteria by which lycanthropy could be recognized. The patient reports in a moment of lucidity or reminiscence that they sometimes feel as an animal or have felt like one. Also, a patient behaves in a manner that resembles animal behavior, for example, howling, growling, or crawling.
Yeah.
According to these criteria, either a delusional belief in current or past transformation or behavior that suggests the person thinks themselves as transformed is considered evidence of clinical lycanthropy. The authors note that although this condition seems to be an expression of psychosis, there is no specific diagnosis of mental or neurological illness associated with its behavioral consequences. And really in that too, it sums up to, it's like, there have been reports of people not only thinking they've turned into wolves, but things like dogs, cats, horses, birds, even someone thought they were a frog.
Hyenas, tigers, bees, foxes.
Like, what do you do when you think you're a bee? You just go and eat flowers.
Have you not like seen in like movies or something where they do the gag with the hypnotist and it's like bark like a dog or like act like a chicken? That's basically what it is. They just act like a chicken or something.
Yeah, yep.
That is kind of weird.
It is, but I mean, it could explain, like, especially when people have a particular idea of what a wolf is like in their head.
Yeah.
And then maybe they have something like this that would explain the things like people throwing on pelts and going and eating people and livestock. Another thing that could add to this, and this is just kind of covering it because it kind of lends to the old pop culture depictions of werewolves of just being like a hairy person.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about the other disorder.
Yes, there is a disorder or syndrome that is called werewolf syndrome or hypertrichosis. According to Healthline, actually, this is a medical page. Hyperkyphosis, also known as werewolf syndrome, is a condition characterized by excessive hair growth anywhere on a person's body. Like, when you get hairy, like cheeks,
Right.
your forehead, nose, everywhere.
Yeah, you'll look like a makeup artist just attaching
Yeah.
glued fur to you.
It can affect both women and men, but is extremely rare. The abnormal hair growth may cover the face and body or occur in small patches. Hypertrichosis can appear at birth or develop over time. Just kind of going on a long shot with that, but I feel like in something like that, at some point in history and time, somebody with that disorder could have had the other disorder as well. I mean,
it would be extremely rare. It would be the black sheep of stuff.
The black sheep of the black sheep.
Yeah. But yeah, it could work.
I mean, it sounds right, but it's like just with the span of time, I feel like it could have happened.
Also,
well, I think that would bring us into our very final part where we just kind of put our own thoughts into the subject.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think personally it is a psychological disorder.
I think it's a mixture between the two, because what you could have is someone with a psychological disorder that openly confesses to, yeah, I'm a werewolf. I turn into a werewolf every Tuesday night and eat sheep.
Yeah.
And then you could just have someone that has the other one, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
The hypertrichosis.
Yeah.
And is just accused of being one.
Yeah.
And then forced confession.
Yeah.
But you guys don't think people actually turn into werewolves?
I don't think in this case, no. I think it's the behavior fits something that people thought of like what a wolf was like.
Yeah.
Because apparently wolves were way more aggressive back then than they are now.
But you have to think about it. What about the dog man?
The dogman isn't a lycanthrope, though.
No, but it is
It's
a
a totally
wolf beast.
It's a totally different creature, though.
Right.
It doesn't transform.
That is true.
It's just
But here's the thing: if some say a wolf man or a dog man is terrorizing your farm, but you don't like Stump over there, you go kill Stump.
Yeah.
that would be the case of a werewolf, not a dogman.
I do believe...
I see the two as different.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, if dogmen exist, which I kind of think do.
Yeah.
I mean... Hey,
I don't know.
It's possible. You never know.
Yeah, it could just be like, there's a dog man.
But with the
Stumpy.
fact that
Let's kill Stumpy.
Right.
It died out pretty much in the... in like 1700s and stuff.
Yes.
Like there was a few in the
late
1800s.
Middle Ages.
I do lend a lot of it to the fact of a lot of superstition paranoia.
Yeah.
But
which it is. It's definitely
here's
is.
the thing though. Whether if it's just a psychological thing of just bloodlust, it's still a werewolf.
Yeah.
Because it fits a certain thing. So it's like,
Yeah.
technically werewolves exist.
Right.
Just not what pop culture has made us
Yeah.
think of a depiction of werewolves. Because none of these really were super outlandish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
They are not shapeshifters, basically.
Well, like this, too. In Norse culture and stuff, the berserkers.
Yep.
Which was like a special sect of warriors that basically you were sent in just to ravage everything.
Yeah,
Right,
those
yeah.
guys were crazy.
They donned wolf pelts and stuff.
Yep.
They were considered by some to be werewolves because of their behavior.
Yeah.
They were very animalistic, very aggressive because that was their role. That was what they were supposed to do.
It also benefited from shrooms.
Yeah, yep. Most berserkers in Incan and Aztec culture, one of the two, they had warriors that were called jaguar men or jaguar warriors. Same thing. They would go into a frenzy like a jaguar and just go shred their opponents apart.
Yeah, they just say it's a wolf because it's as crazy and as aggressive as a wolf on a battlefield.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because they...
I don't know. To me, that is actually a pretty terrifying idea to think that somebody could just have that and then just go on a superhuman marauding rampage.
Right.
If anything, that's even more creepy and disturbing and just terrifying than like pop culture depictions of werewolves. Where full moon comes out, they shapeshift, or it's a midnight But this is just like, oh, random Joe on the side of the road could just have a spout of lycanthropy and just be like, I'm gonna go rip off someone's face because I'm a wolf now.
Yeah. Well,
That's
like
true,
there
yeah.
was a case in Florida several years back. Now they attribute it to the guy snorting bath salts, but a guy attacked. Well, at first he stripped naked, attacked a homeless man, murdered him, and started to eat him.
Sounds
Yeah.
like the story
And
that we read earlier.
When the police encountered him, he was on all fours. He growled at them and lunged at them. So of course they opened fire and
Yeah.
to protect themselves. But it's like that could be a form of it. Actually, one thing I didn't cover in that in the clinical lycanthropy is it can be attributed to certain drugs and
Yep.
stuff and the way that they affect the brain.
Yep, that's true.
Like it just triggers some kind of animalistic
I don't know if
instinct.
it's trigger. I think it's
or induces it.
I think it suppresses a different part of the brain.
Yeah.
Like the moral part of the brain, just the human
Yeah. And it
aspect.
just probably aggravates like the parts that
Rage.
are anger and rage and stuff. It definitely lends, I think, to the thing of where they always ask in like stories and stuff if people are really the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this really, in all right, could happen to anybody under right conditions.
Yep.
Eh.
Well, and it's also kind of breaks down to that like animal instinct.
Yeah. Yep.
Like everybody has a flight or fight reflex.
Well,
so.
it would be like this. You are stranded in the wild, and the only way you make it is acting as savage as you possibly can.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're going to switch to that mentality, and
Yeah.
that's going to become your new lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yep.
And back in those times, it's like some people lived well, a lot of people did not live well, so they had to
Exactly.
do what they could to survive. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it could be some form of weird coping.
Yep. It could be. I mean, I like to think it's just more.
Or it could be a power trip, too, because, think about
could
that,
be.
too. Like,
Yeah. We didn't touch on a lot of the different other stories, but like I know a couple other are just like kings or like high noblemen that just go out as a werewolf.
yeah, and there were stories of people, too, they were like, yeah, I turned into a wolf. What would you do? No, I just ran around.
Yeah.
That could have just been a hallucination in a dream.
It could have been a hallucination. It could have been a dream. There are like depictions of a werewolf are also is like that somebody while they sleep basically see like what a wolf is doing.
Really, I
Huh.
haven't heard that before.
Yeah,
That's
it's
interesting.
like it's another one of those just kind of odd depictions. Of
Like
it.
Yeah.
they go to the body of a wolf.
Like they either go to or they have just like this weird
out of body
link to like a
Yeah.
particular wolf or something.
I could see that.
It's interesting. It's one of those things that I feel like is real, but again, just society thinks it one way when it's another
Yeah,
way.
exactly. And
Just-
plus, just the way culture has like molded the werewolf
Yeah.
lore, it's like it turned it into much more of just like a view on humans where we can just be very brutal and animalistic.
Well, it's just like the vampires. Vampires now are regarded as attractive, seductive creatures.
Sad, dark stories
Yeah.
of
When it's like, well, what was it?
Immortality.
It's this decaying corpse that just rips itself out of the ground to eat your
or
throat.
Yeah.
delusional queens that use blood of people as makeup. Or
Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler, which likes to impale people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big case of that. We've just romanticized it. It's kind of what I'm finding I call the Louis L'Amour effect, if you know who Louis L'Amour is.
No.
I've heard of the effect.
He was, a long time ago, an author who wrote stories about the Old West. He gave us the cliche depiction of the standing tall gunslinger and things like that.
okay.
Like what
Yeah.
we see in old movies and
Yeah.
stuff like that. He I guess, kind of brutalized the West.
The West,
He
and more
wrote-
romanticized it. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that is very much what has happened over time with this. It has been something that was actually very feared.
Yeah.
And it...
Well, we all know that we don't like looking into the past very much.
No.
Because
Yeah.
we don't like. It's kind of like looking at your old high school photos.
Yeah.
Just like, I was that cringe. Humanity itself looks back into the Dark Ages. It's like, were we really that savage? Like, did we really just throw a woman into the river with, like, rocks tied to her leg because we thought she was a witch?
Yeah.
Like,
See if she floated. If she floated, we kill her.
Now,
yeah.
I do think, as far as the clinical lycanthropy, I do think it still exists. It's
No, it does.
In the medical world, we don't hear a lot about all the weird and strange stuff, which kind of is annoying because I think all that information should be
open,
a little bit more open.
I'm sure it is. It's just, it's not mainstream.
Yeah, and then that is kind of a problem. Everything, like, things get hidden away.
Yeah.
Like this kind of stuff. Weird cases where, like, police officers encounter face-eating man.
Yep. I mean, that was a pretty big story.
Yeah, it lasted for about a day or two.
That's just the news cycle.
Yeah.
If it's yesterday's news, don't do it.
Yep. But no, I think on one hand, very much it's real.
Yeah.
Just not, like I said, not what we.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the cool thing of turning in like dog soldiers.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd probably have like superheroes or something.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
But unfortunately, we live in a mostly boring world.
Yep.
That's why we do this podcast.
That is why we do this podcast.
I still want to find a dog man, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
In Bigfoot.
And not shoot Bigfoot.
And not shoot Bigfoot.
I'm going to give Bigfoot fruit.
No, they like coffee.
No, coffee's not good for Bigfoot.
Hey, to be fair, he just got done boiling it.
True. Okay, a frappe for Bigfoot.
A frappuccino for Bigfoot.
Why don't we just give him iced coffee?
There you go.
Oh. All right. Well, and with that, I think we're going to call it a wrap for this episode.
Yep.
So,
let's wrap it up.
Of course, I have been Sir Boom, your host, and yeah, you can find me personally on Twitter at SirBoom9. There, I talk about basically whatever I want to. Mainly, I talk about my other hobbies mostly. I'm not really big on talking about paranormal stuff on my personal account, I realized.
You realize just saying that you're going to get flooded with stuff now about paranormal stuff.
Probably, because they're always listening, so... But yeah, you can also find me on another podcast with two of my other friends where I talk about anime and kind of just like weird articles on the internet that's more related to like pop culture and stuff like that. So, Wolf, where can they find you?
On our Twitter, or if they're on the YouTube, I'm also on the as of yet untitled podcast of ours.
Right. And Ramakat, where can they find you?
They can find me at RamenCat13 on Twitter.
Yep.
Not that I've really had much time to get on Twitter.
Right.
I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Dude, it's so busy lately.
It's
insane.
But if anyone just wants to like drop me like a message or something, just chat, I am more than willing.
Sweet.
If I drop off the face of the earth in the middle of a conversation, it's nothing against any of you. I just got busy and will be back.
Or your power went out for the 5th time.
Or my power went out for the 5th time, because I'm mostly living in the dark ages these last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And, of course, if you want to contact the show itself, the show is on Twitter at BehindYouPod, as well as we are on YouTube at just Look Behind You. The Twitter also has a different podcast that we put up called, do we want to say the new name of it?
I already forgot the new name. That's why I said untitled podcast.
It's known as Untitled Podcast first.
So far, the first episode was titled that. Now we figured out a name called The Podcast Behind the Podcasts.
Yay.
Basically the podcast of us three talking about stuff.
Yep.
Random, just whatever happens. Usually we record at like 2 a.m, so it's caffeine-driven madness.
Yep, pretty much.
It is awesome.
And then, yeah, besides for that, if you want to find where you can listen to us on other sites, you can go to anchor.fm/Look Behind You, and there you can find every site that we are on known to man. So, there you go.
All the sites?
All the sites.
Even the dark web?
I hope we're not on the dark web. I hope we're not there yet.
We're just some assassin's favorite show.
You never know.
That would actually kind of be cool, I guess.
Only if it's just like the guy from Hitman.
Yeah.
That's the only kind of person that would be okay. Just barcode.
Yeah.
Tattoo.
Agent 47.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, I think we are done for this day.
Yep.
This day, this night, this evening.
This
because
pre-number of time.
Yes.
This super humid day.
Well, now you can be done podcasting, so we can open up the windows again. So. All right, you all. We'll see you all later. And remember, look behind you, because you never know what you find.
Maybe a cookie.
A cookie.
A cookie.
Cookie would be great.
Yes.
See you all later.
See you.
Bye.